Wow.
Welcome back to the Daily Stack. Today is me, Jordan Herbs, co-host, and some exciting news today. Let's get you up on stage. Jordan, how you doing? All right, let me we'll explain in a minute, but your audio's on mute for me, unless it's
Unmute button.
Yep.
Okay, wait, we're good. The unmute button got stuck. A little janky there. Weird.
Yeah. So we appreciate everyone's patience today. Today is a new studio day. So this is a studio that we built for Daily Stack. A lot of fun things with it we'll get into. We also have some exciting news with Venice. So Jordan works with Venice, and they just had a very significant funding round of 65 million at a $1 billion valuation. Shows a big bet on privacy and AI and the importance of privacy and AI. How are you doing, Jordan? And tell us a little bit about the funding.
Um, well, I'm repping my Venice swag today, but yeah, it's going around Twitter right now, and yeah, Venice is officially a unicorn at a $1 billion valuation, and with some very aligned investors. And Eric Voorhees posted some. He's the founder. He
Yeah.
posted some really good content today, really going into why Venice is important in the age of our intelligence mixing with machine intelligence. And then another thread about the tokenomics slash, like, because there's a token, but then there's also equity. It's a company. So
Yeah.
exploring how that all is going to work. And as far as I'm concerned, Venice continues to be a very, very fascinating experiment. Not just like a necessary service in the world, private AI, where your stuff isn't being stored and trained upon if you don't want it to be, but also integrating crypto economics and
Yeah.
all this fun stuff for the new generation. So
That's exciting, especially when we have news today that just with Fable returning,
Yeah.
we're excited about jumping into it, but we've also been shaken out a little bit and disillusioned on relying too much on a cloud provided model that you can't control. Don't build your processes around models that could be gone very quickly. It could be political, could be the cost to compute. You honestly don't know. So with you guys, it's you're agnostic to all the models, and then I think the interesting thing we touched on early is you guys have your own models that aren't censored. Could tell us a little bit about that? Because I think for like some of the hardcore libertarians, they like the sauce of of having something that isn't woke, isn't going through a
Yeah.
filter.
Well, what Venice does, it doesn't actually train models, at least not yet. That might change in the future. I don't
Yeah,
know. But right now, it takes these open source models, and then sometimes it's the like obliterated version. I don't know much about this, so I can't really speak to it
yeah,
great. But there's versions of these open source models that you can remove some of the guardrails and you can just make them a lot more free and
yeah,
uncensored in how they respond to you. And so that's one of the steps with these like specifically uncensored models. Uh, and then they'll add a system prompt that continues to be like, "Hey, nothing is out of bounds here. We treat
yeah,
our users like adults, and whatever they want to talk about, you can talk about with them." That doesn't mean it can break, Fable guardrails
yeah,
or even Opus guardrails, but that's the idea behind it. And so then, depending on how the model was trained, it might be more and more uncensored compared to others. And then there's uncensored image and video generation as well. So you're free to generate almost anything
mm,
in the bounds of the law, of course. But this has also been proven to be a really nice feature, especially after Grok Imagine went censored. I don't know if you
yeah,
caught wind of this, but Grok Imagine is the video really, really, really powerful video generation model, and people were using it to generate just about anything, and it did
yeah.
a really good job. You can use your imagination on what that might be. But then,
Nice.
I think because of the IPO, they had to tone it down, and so
Yeah.
people got really disappointed. So the Venice team was actually able to create some workarounds with some other really powerful models, and you can get similar results now um, for use your imagination type video generations.
Which is scary. It's I mean, it's like you don't want people to censor, so the tools there's a whole industry that's gonna pop up of, like, I think AI detection, right? There already is a huge industry around AI detection. You post on Twitter now, it says this is made with AI to try to clean that up and give, users that are less tech savvy just hopefully a more clear picture that this is an AI generated image. But people on Facebook, I think it's gonna be years before you get rid of all the boomers that are not saying we want to get rid of boomers, but you have less boomers that are seeing something incredibly fake, and so much of like the content on like a Facebook feed is so fake now with AI. You have like aliens landing, and then people like blowing up of like, why are they landing? And like, why are they liberal? And and it's just not true. And so
Are they liberal?
yeah, like
The aliens
exactly
living on
what I
Wall
see on
Street?
Facebook. And so I think you have to have more tools out there to like not censor it, but also like give people context, like the community notes of this is likely AI generated. Don't fall for it.
I mean, yeah, I mean, how long is it gonna last? Like that's a transitionary moment in human history where we need to label things AI generated. But if you trust what you see online already, then you've got some hard lessons to learn. Like even before AI, how much can you trust from headlines you see? Whether we want to call it clickbait or just simply the legacy media telling you things that just straight up aren't true,
Yeah.
which they've done for years with no accountability. I mean, I think maybe they used to issue an apology if they were wrong about something, but then, especially during COVID, they just straight up fucking lied. Excuse my French, but I think, yeah. So I don't know how AI changes anything. As you should never be trusting anything you see anyway online.
Yeah. Which has been true for a while, but
Yeah.
there's so many people that they're not there, you know? Um, what I want to share too is, let me pull this up. Unrestricted intelligence. So this is very much on theme with the rays, with Venice, is if others possess your thoughts and constrain your words, then you exist at their permission and you are not free. So Eric Voorhees, one of Bitcoin OGs, one of the earliest people publicly touting, and you see the pictures of him at libertarian conferences with a Bitcoin table talking about Bitcoin. So there's so many, I think, quiet permissions that get brought in. Like, what have you guys seen, or like, what have you seen when you started working at Venice as the mission, the main mission behind Eric and team of like why they wanted to push this? Did they see like this oligopoly of large, AI labs, the Anthropics, the ChatGPT or OpenAI, and potential like government intervention where these become nationalized entities. You already see like Trump administration talking about investing in AI companies. Is that the main concern? What do you feel like is the main engine driving the company and like motivating it?
Well, I have been trying to put my finger on that myself, because I'm just another cog in the machine at the company. But
Yeah,
I think Eric has been pretty vocal in most of what he says in podcasts and written content that he puts out, that he saw a need for a place where people can just have unrestricted intelligence. And because there's different ways you can restrict intelligence, right? And a big part of that is control the output and control how people think. So imagine if people were using ChatGPT during COVID and people were trying to figure out about the vaccine or trying to figure
yeah,
out, hey, is COVID actually dangerous or whatever. It would have been a completely different thing if ChatGPT was out back then, and that, everyone would have believed what ChatGPT told them. So how easy would it have been for the powers that be, so to speak, to make sure that ChatGPT only had a certain kind of output? So you can imagine what might be happening now in regards to any kind of events happening in the world or geopolitical situations, whatever it is, where
yeah,
they just straight up won't tell you things in full truth, or they'll straight up say, sorry, I can't answer that.
yeah,
And so that was one aspect of it. The other aspect was the privacy aspect, which is every conversation you're having with ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, whatever, uh, it's being stored forever on a server somewhere. And not only that, it's most likely being data that is trained upon for the next version of the model. So everything you're saying, everything you're learning, blah, 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 all of that is going towards basically being part of a new model. So any secrets you give it,
yeah,
like somewhere deep in there, the model has training on it. But then also, because that data is stored, I mean, this is just because it's AI doesn't mean it's any different than Facebook or anything else on the internet where all your data is stored and sold or harvested or processed, whatever it might be. I mean, remember when it was a big out there was a big outburst, that Facebook was doing whatever with your data, or Twitter or whatever it was. This was like at least 10 years ago, because people never realized it, right?
yeah,
Like, oh my gosh, and they're building psychological profiles on us. What? People somehow seem to have forgotten about that, or no one cared enough to begin with. But more importantly, people, I think, don't realize that that's happening with AI as well, to a greater extent, because these things, I mean, people get really deep with ChatGPT and they tell
yeah,
them personal things. And so, I mean, even if you're not getting really deep, these things are building profiles on you based on how you communicate, how you think, what you want to be told. Not to mention, there's the sycophancy, how do you say it? The sycophantic stuff
yeah,
where it says what you want to hear, not to mention OpenAI giving transcripts of chats to police. I mean, there's all kinds of just like, depending on how you view the world, bad things that can come out of storing all this conversation data.
yeah,
So Eric Voorhees is, a strong libertarian voice. I don't know if he still associates with that term, but I think it's just the, umbrella category
yeah,
of freedom. And he thought, hey, we need an AI that we can an AI service that we can use that isn't storing all our data and will not just feed us the talking points of the day. And so that has evolved because Venice does offer access, model to models, like frontier models. So the same ChatGPT that will, be censored, you can still access those frontier models via Venice. The cool part is it's shielding your identity. So
Yeah.
it's all going through Venice like a proxy. So it's like a VPN effectively. So you have like one extra layer of anonymity, so to speak, as long as you're not providing any personal identifying information. But that said, unless you're specifically using an uncensored model or a private model, which is hosted with zero data retention agreements somewhere, then you know that that conversation is not being stored. And then take it a step further, you can actually use full end-to-end encrypted models where the actual conversations are happening in a trusted execution environment, so you can know
Yeah.
that nowhere along the way. And then there's an attestation report on the screen that you can verify if you know how to do that encryption math, which I don't.
No.
But yeah, so it's come a long way. It's only what, I think it's like 2 years old. Venice is not a very old project. So this was a pretty exciting announcement that it raised this capital and its status as a unicorn. And I think it's also just cool that I hope privacy becomes a mainstream topic. It's always been so important. And now in the age of AI, it's even more important. And we could probably scroll through this post. He hammers on some really good points in here, just about our sovereignty of intelligence, sovereignty of consciousness, like right there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep talking a lot, but
No,
uh,
it's good to break this down.
the sovereignty of intelligence is innate. It is how all biological intelligence emerged, private, then selectively revealed. Would you have it any other way? Imagine if your mind was occasionally or continually witnessed. What if it was for the good of society, for the children? Should you be watched by strangers to make the world a better place? How would the development of your own thought and spirit be altered by such observance? What character of civilization would emerge? Today, human minds are merging with machine minds, and people are too swiftly surrendering the basis on which their own intelligence evolved and is exercised. So, yeah, I feel like that's the thesis right there. It's just we're in this moment where I don't think people recognize this. I mean, people get it. Like AI is super powerful. We already talk about the data centers and the mass surveillance infrastructure that they're building for AI to build the panopticon, but it's also just how we think
Yeah.
and how the next generation is raised to think and approach things critically. And it's just a really subtle, I guess subtle is kind of the word, where it's not the topic of conversation. Like we talk about, oh, we need privacy. Privacy is a human right, blah, blah, blah. Like that's a bit more surface level. But underneath that, there's all these different layers of what it means for a society that has machine intelligence controlled by these frontier labs that want to own the market, that are beholden to governments, and all these things. So I'll stop rambling now.
Yeah, it's so much of think about, like, thought, like, using these tools is such an advantage, but if you rely too heavily on them and I think to make so many of the decisions, like health decisions, and I think the scary thing is, there's not always that clear, like, enemy or that clear pushback, like, they're gonna be guiding you, I think politically people are guided to, like, what enemy they should have, and, should they be against people in the Middle East and Iran, or, is it gonna switch to Russia, or is it gonna switch to Ukraine, depending on which side you're on, and I think that's the thing is, like, it could just be a subtle shift in, like, how the average person is managed, in any country really of, how like China's doing it with obviously social credit scores, but then also they may not even have to do any physical force if it's just training you via the AI to like this is how you think. I saw a really interesting post on was it Google DeepMind, their lab, and they're diving into they're doing a partnership with Eve Online. And Eve Online, I'm not as familiar with the gaming side, so please forgive me for butchering this, but uh online multiplayer game, that's been around 20 years, and part of it is this big, like, economy that you can use to barter, exchange, you're doing some, like, macroeconomics within Eve, and you're doing, like, bank heists, and you're coordinating, like, heists of and taking money, and so one thing that people are looking forward is world models and the ability to like not just be like looking at
Mhm.
language and predicting where the next word's going to be, but having a full suite of inputs and having AI intelligently respond to those inputs in a just a much bigger way. And you could dive into world models and definition a lot better than I can, likely. So the key thing though is that Google DeepMind sees a ton of potential with Eve because there's there's a way to look at there's a way to test and understand the economy in a way that hasn't been done before, and you already have these online games that have all of these factors, and it's built in and like hardened and battle tested. So it's going to be really interesting to see how what like say like a Google DeepMind could derive from that, and then where does that come into public policy and the Fed, and obviously talking about like Bitcoin and so much of what we do throughout the week on the markets. How is AI gonna shape the markets in a totally different way than thinking about automated trading? It's more from a very top level. How are central bankers going to be using these war games, that we used to see during the Cold War of like what happens if Russia sends 10 nukes and we send 12 and is it mutual destruction? So very fascinating. I don't know if you've seen this with DeepMind and Eve, but I thought that was like kind of mind expanding of where this could go.
No, I didn't see that, but I have seen war games, and I have witnessed. Well, I guess like any Bitcoiner, once you go down the orange pill rabbit hole, you start to see like, wow, how were they able to convince all these people that central bank paper money is real money, right? And
Yeah.
depending on who you read it from, the creature from Jekyll Island or
Yeah.
Eustace Mullins, the Secrets of the Federal Reserve. There's plenty of little stories from back then about the creation of the Federal Reserve. But one of the one of the big points was back then, like the average person, or at least the average person with money or something that like, had some finances available, maybe not the lower class, they had an idea. They knew what like central banks could do. Like they didn't trust Wall Street. It was like closer to home what that how bad it would be. And that's why in the creature from the Jekyll Island, they talk about they had to go have this secret meeting on the island in order to come up with the narrative that they would be able to push through Congress. So like they figured out how to trick everyone there. And that was back when people thought about things a lot more than they do today,
Yeah.
that was also, pre income tax, federal income tax. So like people thought about things a lot more back then and it was a lot more close to home. And now here we are 2 or 3 generations later, and people are essentially just zombies when it comes to the rules of the state. And forget even the rules of the state. Money. What is
Yeah.
money? And people just don't even think about it. So if you think about how they did that without AI, now think about the next 3 generations with AI. Think about that with they only give mythos to certain companies. Um, uh,
Yeah.
and meanwhile, the models we're getting are censoring us. I mean, it's pretty freaking scary when you start to think about that and where things go next. So I would liken Venice to just kind of a beacon of light in the darkness, as like a beacon of hope. Like maybe there is some hope here. And as long as we do have an outlet to capture, to use intelligence without those restrictions and without that data storage, so to speak, then perhaps there might be hope for those of us that care in order to create a new world, so to speak. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I mean, the potentials of brainwashing and programming full societies for the next few generations is just insane. And they're already good at it. That's my
Yeah.
point. Without AI, they were good at
Facebook's really good at what they're doing, and you see with ads, it's just incredible. And I think that's where it's like people have to have the conversations now, and obviously, like podcasts are all just about talking about hypotheticals, but you really do need to start talking about it because you need people to normalize it, where it becomes, oh, we really should question how much data is collected, and we should question screen time. And my wife took our kid to the new Toy Story on Saturday, and I didn't
Yeah,
go,
all about the
but
screen time.
yeah, but it was the premise was around the iPad was the enemy and the screen time, and like you need to play with like physical toys. which is meta,
I
obviously, in a movie.
Not that we need to go on a tangent, but, I just watched that this weekend too,
Really?
and, I was stoked because I felt like this was the first Toy Story that really had a message. I mean, they all kinda have
Mhm.
a message in some sense, but this was like I had to talk with my kids after, like, "Hey, do you guys know what this movie means? Do you know why mommy and daddy tell you we don't want you to use the screen so much?" Is because, and I loved how they showed that in the movie, like, as soon as the what's her name? Dora? No, what's the girl's name? The new girl owner of the whatever her name is. Uh, as soon as she gets the tablet, she just turns into like a zombie, and she goes, "Yeah,
Yeah.
dad, whatever," and she just turns into like this zombie, and I love how they didn't sugarcoat that. Not that Disney is a company I really respect for its,
Yeah.
respect to children's consciousness, but, like, they did a good job in there showing, like, what that really does to the child. And, yeah, I had to sit down with my kids after to talk about it, like, "Hey, this is why we don't wanna be on screens all the time and why toys are important."
Yeah. It is funny, like, I mean, that it is I do feel like the tricky part of, like, when they nail like, when places have nailed it, like, was it the Barbie movie did a good job of that, of, like, I can't remember when I watched it, but I watched it was at some point, and it was like, "Oh, they did a good message of just, like, perfectionism and, like, vanity of Barbie in itself," right? Of
That's
trying to
funny, I
have
never saw the
you know
Barbie movie, but on Twitter, I just saw how it was all, like, super woke and stuff, so it's interesting to hear you say this.
Yeah, I mean, in a similar way to, like, Toy Story, where there was, like, a message behind it, even though you're, like,
Okay.
literally in a movie theater watching a screen, and they're gonna try to sell you a bunch of, like, physical toys too.
Yeah,
But
right.
or,
Don't use tablets, buy our toys.
yeah, or come to Disney World, have, like,
Yeah.
in-person, which isn't a bad message in itself, but you don't have to go to Disney World. It's pretty cost prohibitive for most people, but I don't know. I'm not against that of
Well, but
doing
case in
stuff.
point, it's like our society at large is training our kids to be hooked on screens.
Yeah,
And if you have ever followed Dr. Jack Kruz's work, he talks about how the LED screen was one of various options to be like the mass market screen technology.
yeah,
And that was essentially developed by the CIA because it helps hijack your frontal lobe and your attention in a certain way to makes you more malleable and impressionable. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But so we have these blue light screens we stare at, and there's plenty of other evidence about blue light is just not good for your brain at any time of day, but especially in the morning or night.
yeah,
And kids are watching these all day. We start using the screens as babysitters
yeah,
because kids are intense and they don't go outside anymore and they don't play with toys anymore and they don't ride their bikes like they used to. And it's dangerous to go outside. I talked to like my dad, or even I have neighbors, maybe 10 years older than my dad, but grew up in the 60s and 70s in LA or whatever. And he's like, yeah, we like when I was 10 years old, 8 years old, we were just gone on our bikes all day. School's
yeah,
over until it's dark. We'd be out on our bikes. Our parents would have no idea. There's no cell phones. And we were just gone. And there was no conception of, oh, it's dangerous or you're going to get kidnapped or this and that. And so you have this whole safety narrative. I don't know if it's actually more unsafe now than it was back then, or if it's just a narrative. But
mhm,
everyone's just cooped up indoors, and our kids are just being raised to live that way. So naturally, our kids are going to start using ChatGPT at some point, and they're going to start thinking the way ChatGPT teaches them. I mean, they're
yeah,
already using ChatGPT in schools. El Salvador is using Grok.
yeah,
XAI was like the savior of El Salvador because they're giving everyone inference credits for Grok. It's like,
yeah,
okay, so now not only is Grok going to affect how they all learn to think and do things, but it's also going to affect what they learn through this technology and how they learn to use it. And then all the conversations are going to be stored and everything we already talked about. So yeah, I mean, sometimes I think I don't know where I was going with this, but sometimes I think the solution is just to fuck off, like, and just be done. I'm moving my family to the mountains somewhere, and we're not going to have screens anymore, and I'm not going to be connected to the internet anymore. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. There is a piece that there is a letting in a sense of letting the market decide. Like there's businesses that are doing a lot more like analog things like phone. I saw one that was like a really cool phone that was just like and I'll see if I can pull it up. But
Motorola's bringing the flip phone back.
Are
Did you hear
they?
about that? Yeah. With Graphene OS.
Oh, that's amazing. How
Yeah, there was a Graphene OS Motorola flip phone announcement, something like that. Let me see. Yeah, Motorola partnership. They announced a partnership at Mobile World Congress 2026 to produce the first non-pixel smartphones running the Graphene OS operating system. Oh, maybe they're not flip phones, but I do know they've talked about bringing the flip phone back.
that is, I think it's on trend, and at least, like, if people are gonna make business or people are gonna try to make money if there's a business there. So this girl, Cat, we can see, yeah, Cat created this phone company
Can you
that
zoom out a little bit? Oh,
yeah, let me see.
just want to see that headline again.
To the new studio,
There
screen
you
share
go.
Zoom, screen share pan. Uh,
Yeah, by the way, I want to talk about this new studio, man.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
cool.
let's do it. Tech
Tech
founder
founder built a cell phone to help reduce her screen time. She sold $120,000 of them in 3 days. Wow. A landline style phone, huh?
Yeah, and this is
Okay.
something it's at least it supports the thesis of, like, there is demand out there. I mean, some people are gonna wanna look cool, like, in New York and have this, fun
That's a
little
cool phone. It's not just like,
yeah,
yeah, it's like a what, 50s style phone.
yeah. So they have both of these styles, which are fun. Um,
I always think it's funny too that like my kids know what that is. Like my kids have no reason to know what a phone like that is and why, but like they
mhm,
still get it. Like even when they pretend to be on the phone, they do that, like
yeah.
yeah.
So so there is demand there. There is demand for analog rejecting screens everywhere. I was reading, I think this is probably in the same newsletter I was, like, reading about this is, like, people are we reached, like, peak smart house, and, like, you don't need screens on everything. You don't need screens on a fridge, you don't need screens on a dishwasher, you don't need a iPad in every room that's on the wall that controls your Nest, that does all of this. So, it is good to collectively see that there is, some pushback. I think there's still they're still gonna creep up on us super fast with AI and how it shapes our thought and if we're making decisions, because AI has been super helpful in making decisions. You're getting so much knowledge, you know, just thrown at you. Uh, but there is a need. Gen Z. It seems like there is a movement to like, oh, let's reject a lot of this. Screens that like have taken over the 2010s and early 2020s that we've seen.
Have you heard of Daylight Computer?
No,
I'm not
is
sure if we
it?
talked about them before, but they're building blue light free tablets, and there's no notifications, there's no camera, and they're just meant for pure productivity focused work. And I have one of them, and they're brilliant. And so, without going into it too much, like there are like serious effects from using too much, from looking at blue light too much,
Yeah,
especially at night. And
yeah,
so, I would recognize like I can't look at my phone at night. I can't watch movies at night unless I'm wearing my red glasses, maybe. But this thing, it is just like an iPad. It's not like a Kindle Paperwhite where it like takes a second to refresh. It's like a
yeah.
full-on normal screen, but it's got an amber backlight. So I can like read at night now and it doesn't affect my sleep at all. And the battery lasts forever and you can use it outside, no problem. Like in the direct sunlight, you can see it perfectly. So they're working on that, which yeah, once like you're saying, let the market decide. I don't remember what their last thing was, but they've had some rounds of investment. I don't know how deep into it, but they plan on making a laptop next, a phone, an actual monitor, and
Mhm.
from this technology, like this is black and white with the amber backlight, but they're saying they can actually get this with the same technology. They can get colors so you
Mm.
can get a full-on color screen without LEDs. This is like a thing. And so as this consciousness about the dangers of blue light rises, then ideally companies like this get more attention, they raise money, they can build their product and put it to the market.
Yeah, yeah, make it easier, like because so much of what we have is going through like the Apple ecosystem. So they're determining they wanna sell you their devices, and they have so much capital, obviously, it's like one of the largest companies in the world that, they can build a really good UI, UX. So it's hard to compete unless you also have capital. Like, and so I think there's like this for some consumer products to get adoption, you really need to have enough capital to get it to a Apple level product to really take off.
Well, and it's interesting with something like this, it's like, if they could just prove that the market wants it, then Apple or Samsung could just buy them and start offering a product line
Yeah.
of no blue light monitors, right? And then mission accomplished. I mean, I don't know what the CEO's mission is, right? But like at least then a big company is producing them and can get them out there.
Yeah. Jumping
Is it
in a little bit, I want to make sure we get into
Fable?
Fable real quick. The hype guy of all AI, Alex Finn, Fable 5 will be API pricing starting July 7th. So I do think this is interesting. Fable coming back, Anthropic rolling it back out. They saw demand, which is great. I also think that this was like almost like a coordinated effort to it actually helped them, I think, to pull back because people had said they didn't have the compute resources. I don't know if it was short term or if they're just saying medium to long term. Anthropic doesn't have enough compute resources to even match the demand that would be out for Fable, so they couldn't just let Fable run for the last month. Like, this actually bought them some time. Who
So it
knows? I
was a
think
conspiracy with the US government that they pulled
yeah, yeah,
it?
it's or like, yeah, that's just
Conspiracy marketing
convoluted marketing
campaign?
stunt, you know? But now, like, we have to look forward and see. It sounds like they're still gonna proceed with, "We're gonna go to API pricing," which is expensive, guys. Like, if you're gonna build a project, if you're gonna, like, say, "Hey, I'm gonna build a new looping mechanism," which everybody says is the best way now, don't do it. Just, like, start doing something else. Like, you're gonna spend way too much money unless you have a business or, like, a lot of cash to burn, and just know that things will get replaced. Um if you're not if you're spending your own money. So, like, for all the entrepreneurs out there, I would not recommend plugging in Fable and getting used to it for coding. I would strategize with it. I would have it create a project plan. This is what I've been doing a lot recently is using, Opus 4.8 or use or GLM even in getting the best model, get best strategy, outlining that in markdown files and then breaking that apart with cheaper models to actually run the execution, do some of the coding. Unless you have a max plan for like Codex. Codex, I feel like has been phenomenal at just having enough usage to get coding tasks done, but it's a little bit robotic in the sense of I wouldn't do strategy and reasoning as much on it. I would definitely start with a model like this, but don't start with coding. I would say is the takeaway for Fable 5. You're going to have very limited usage and it might only be for, 7 days.
Yeah, code with Opus or code with GLM 5.2. Gosh, I mean, after we did that demo last week, I've been using GLM 5.2 for a lot of things and getting just great
Really?
results. It's cheap. But look what he's saying here. Alex Finn is saying what we've been saying for how since the first time I came on the show.
Yeah.
The days of subscription subsidies are quickly coming to an end. Like there will come a day where everything's going to be built on usage. And if you're addicted to these frontier models, it's going to cost a lot of money and you're going to get priced out. Many people are going to get priced out. And that's why you need to pick up the slack and learn how to use open source models with harnesses. Or I get it. I've had a few videos do really well on YouTube recently because I'm showing people how to use a harness
Yeah.
with any model, and you can essentially get Fable 5 results depending on why you used Fable 5. I think one of the main reasons I liked Fable 5 is because it was just autonomous. I could say what I wanted and it would spend an hour building without interrupting me. But
Yeah.
if you want to do that for tasks you do all the time, you build a harness and then you could just plug GLM 5.2 into it for a tenth of the cost, maybe even less than that if you compare it to Fable, and you can get these very similar results. And it's going to work long horizon autonomy is what it's called. But anyway, I call it a harness. A lot of people are saying no, it's just an agentic workflow or whatever. But really, what it is just like setting up a workspace so these models know what to do, how you want it done.
Yeah.
And once you have that, you can get really good results. And you realize that unless it's like you said, a really specific and deep reasoning task, in which case frontier models are really important. But if it's just for coding things and you have a good plan and you have the specs, like GLM 5.2, will do a
Mm.
great job. And this brings us back to Venice, right? Like with one the API key with Venice, you can use GLM 5.2 to do the main work, and you can use Opus 4.8 or Fable 5 to do the reasoning work, and you can make sure that your harness doesn't use Fable when it doesn't need it, right? I
Yeah.
mean, even that's what Cloud Code, which is also a harness, is technically supposed to be doing. It's supposed to route to Haiku or Sonnet or Opus, depending on what the task is, to save credits. But yeah, I mean, this is just really important. This you got to learn how to harness your own AI, get sovereign over the fundamentals, so this doesn't fuck you.
Yeah. And I can't remember how much I dove into last week on my own like GLM setup with Venice, but when we're talking through these things, also know this is a great opportunity just to work with your agent to ask it what to do. Ask it based on our current setup. What's the best way to integrate the API? Like, how can I minimize how much time I spend in the command line? Or, let's go fully command line and so I have, control and I understand, how this is set up. But it put together a project plan for GLM 5.2, setting up Venice, dropped in some credits, I think 20 25 bucks into Venice, and then was able to start testing immediately. Like I don't want to I wanted to do less because I didn't wanna go in and integrate directly like I have in the past with, I think, Kimmy, where, going to them directly, I wanna spin the work so that I can test out other models in the future. Like, I don't know how much, like, a Chinese model I necessarily wanna, invest in, but I like the optionality, and so I think that's especially if you're building workflows, maybe don't have a direct API key for all of these. If there's a model you don't think or a lab you're maybe not sure about because you're US based and they're based in China and you could easily see that being blocked in the future. Use your dev work and resources to like funnel it through something like Venice, Open Router, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, even all these open weight models or whatever, when you run DeepSeek through DeepSeek or Kimi through Kimi,
Yeah.
they're storing your data. They're storing it all. You need to be running the open source model on infrastructure that you have a relationship with, at least if you want it to be private, which is what Venice's whole thing is. Um, and yeah, someone posted a picture yesterday, halfway related, of he connected like 260 MacBook Pros or MacBook Minis or whatever to run GLM 5.2 locally.
Yeah.
That's how many you need. Like you need like a terabyte
How
of
many?
memory. Like 260. I think I retweeted it. Let me check.
That's
Uh,
insane.
yeah, and that's why it's like, and GLM 5.2 is a really good open weight model, but it's just like, yeah, here it is. Can I share my screen here?
Yeah. Good test.
Yeah, good test of the vibe coded. All right, screen share. Okay, sharing my screen. You see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We got it.
This is why the future. This is my post. This is why the future
Oh,
is
it is.
home devices for basic intelligence and S Venice for everything else. I finally managed to run GLM 5.2 locally by interconnecting 256 16 gig MacBook Minis or Mac Minis. Sorry. You see that?
Yeah.
Um, that's what's required to run GLM 5.2 locally. Who's going to do that? Not many people, uh, if
Jeez.
anyone. So it's sorry, I unshared the screen, but like it's important to recognize like the average person's going to be able to run something like a Gemma 4, which is good for a lot of things, but it's
Yeah.
not like mega intelligent. It's probably not going to be amazing at calling all these different tools and functions for building things. Uh, but it's good. It could be good, just like as a baseline intelligence that's all local and private.
Yeah.
But then if you want privacy, but with a more powerful model, then you can't run GLM 5.2 at home. So you got to find a provider you trust. And that's just going to be how it is. Like, I don't know. Even though I think we talked about it last week, the AMD or NVIDIA announced the 128 gig memory device for a local
Yeah.
home AI. So it's like, okay, 128 gigs, is that really going to be, like, is that enough? I don't know if that's really enough.
Yeah. I'd say unless it's just such a big difference of like, don't be convinced by a creator on X that's getting paid for engagement and to be telling you like what their setup is because it sounds cool. They're setting up like a bunch of like different computers, but are they just doing this and, like, writing that off as a business expense for their creator business because they want, like, clicks and likes and they get paid for that? I think
Of
the average
course.
person doesn't
Yeah.
need to get suckered into, like, spending a bunch of capital they don't have. Unless, I mean, there is a reason to buy, get hardware before it gets more expensive, like, uh, I don't know if this is like flat screen TVs where it's gonna go down. I think memory shortage is real. Micron and Apple have been battling, which has been an interesting topic over the weekend was, Apple was petitioning to be able to use another Chinese memory provider, because they've been going head to head with Micron, who's been a longtime supplier. Micron's complaining that they're arguing, say, like between $7 and $9, for what they're charging for a chip. But then Apple turns around and sells that $7 to $9, you know, uh, memory chip into a $100 upgrade on their iPhone. Oh, you want to go from like 100 gigabytes to 250? We're going to upcharge you $100. And Micron called that out, and I think it's a very sober take of like, look, you guys have been like bully pricing just like Walmart's done for the past like 30 years, 40 years to people, and we're going to push back on that. Like Micron has enough demand from every other customer, every other major customer. I think they have 16 customers that are over $100 million contracts.
So are
So
they raising their prices, Micron?
Micron has, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's been demand based. But I think for them, they're showing like how absurd it is for Apple to be trying to hardline negotiate. If it's like, wait, you guys
Mhm.
are turning around something that we're making, and you're complaining about $2 versus you're having like a 80, 80, $1 markup, or I mean $91 markup in their eyes. The math could be off, but that was like the ratio that they communicated.
Yeah. Well, yeah, all I know is that I couldn't find a MacBook, Studio with 512 gigs of RAM because they stopped offering it, and I couldn't even get one with 256 or 128, um, unless I waited, like it was like 4 months or something, and I would have
Yeah.
had to talk to, like, a an Apple Store specialist to get me on a list to, like, yeah, the shortage is real.
Yeah. So it does seem like things could get much more expensive. Um, or the shortages, things like that. I think like if you're building PCs at home, it is harder now. It is challenging to be able to do that. Prices have gone up for obviously like GPUs and anything you might want to build like a gaming PC with. That has been an issue price wise for years. It's just going to become harder with AI. Like I don't see that demand slowing down.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people think it is gonna go down. I don't know. I have no idea. I've heard both sides. I also think this is a I'm not saying this, just to keep talking about Venice, but it's where my mind goes, is this is also an interesting use case for the Venice Diem token.
Mhm.
If you're gonna make an investment in something, like I'm all about the sovereignty, right? So sure, buy the GPU, buy the thing you can have at your house, so you're owning it, not renting it. That said, does it make sense, right? How big of a model are you going to be able to run? Is it good for your purposes? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Uh, but when you need a bigger model, are you going to route to Opus or Fable? What are you going to route to and why? And how often are you going to do that? And so that's why it's a very legitimate option to consider investing in the Diem token, which is $1 in API credits through Venice every day. It refreshes every day. So you buy, imagine a GPU is 5 grand or whatever, and you have that GPU, and I don't know, 5 grand. How much? What 32 gigs of memory, Jody? Like, what would that normally be? A five
Yeah.
grand GPU? I don't know. Let's say it's 32 gigs, so you can run a 31B model on there with that. Great. What happens if you want GLM 5.2? Then
Yeah.
you're going to need to route somewhere else, unless you don't need it. But or you spend that 5,000 on the Venice Diem token, and you get however many dollars per day from that. and then you can route to any of the models, including the frontier models, for as long as those are provided, including GLM 5.2. And you have more of a variety available to you, though you might not have as much compute. You will be limited every day because it's a finite amount, unlike your home device, which you can just run unlimited. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I think the real answer is like every individual needs to really figure out what they need this intelligence for, what they're going to use this intelligence for, and what level of intelligence they need uh, for those tasks. For every person, it's going to be different. But I know I ask myself all the time, like I wanted to get this really powerful MacBook Studio with 512 gigs of RAM, and I
Yeah.
couldn't get it. And then I'm like, what would I actually do with all that? Because most of my like mega creative work, I can't get it done with a model on five. I need Opus, right? Or I need GLM 5.2. So yeah, I do think Alex Finn has, like you mentioned, is a creator that's definitely gone hard into that angle. Like, oh, do your own local AI, and that's just how he's getting his views and likes, and that's good for him. But I think it's a lot more nuanced than that. Everyone needs to figure out their own way, what they need and why.
Yeah. One thing I was going to dive into, let me find the tweet itself. All right, we're going to pull this up. This is not this different one than what I was thinking of, but uh this is from Anthropic yesterday. So Claude Fable 5 will be available again globally tomorrow. I haven't spent time on it. I've
But
also
hang on,
seen
that was yesterday, right?
yesterday. Yeah,
It's still not available though.
yeah. I haven't seen
Yeah,
it. I haven't seen it online yet. So
no, it's not available. So we're
yeah,
clear.
but they haven't tweeted anything else out. So I don't know if they're working through some working through some last minute negotiations. One thing that somebody called out was some routine task like coding and debugging will fall back to Opus 4.8, which is
Yeah.
interesting. Like it is interesting to see how much are they is it watered down? Are there more safeguards in place? Is it even like worth talking about, right? Is this they just want us to like market it for them and talk about it, but like how good is the model, right? There's been so much talk recently, and this is also people like engagement farming. Get, Fable like results, combine ChatGPT 5.5 with Opus
Yeah,
4.8,
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and everyone's, talking about these, but
Which is what I
uh
do on YouTube.
yeah, yeah. I guess and what was your takeaway? Like, do you think you can devise a system using, pairing two models together, three models together? Would you do that via Venice? And do you feel like you're getting like the output that say a single Fable model would give?
I think it depends on what you're trying to get. So I don't think you can match the intelligence itself. I think that's just Fable level intelligence. But when it comes, like I mentioned, but when it comes to building, one-shotting things, and it just like knowing what to do to like make something that what you said you wanted, I think you can get that with a good harness slash agentic workflow workspace, which is what I've been sharing on YouTube. I do think you can
Yeah.
get that. And maybe I'm just projecting, but I'm a builder and most of my audience is builders. And I think that's what was really cool for us was, hey, Fable 5, do this. And then it would just go for 3 hours and do it.
Yeah.
I think you can still get that without Fable 5.
Yeah.
That said, when it comes to the actual intelligence, probably not. There's probably things in there that, yeah, you just can't match. And then when it comes to different model routing, like GPT-5 to this, like the fusion they call it or whatever, I think
Yeah.
that's, I mean, yeah, but you could do that with anything. Like I have my content repurposing pipeline. It's a harness or agentic workflow. And that uses like 4 different models in there from different providers. So like Opus writes the post after Gemma 4 analyzes the transcript, and then GPT 5.4 proofreads it to make sure it follows the rules for the brand voice, for the value it's supposed to provide the viewer. And then the orchestrator agent, Kimmy K 2.6, then like runs the whole workflow and then sends it to ConvertKit through the API and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, you can be doing that anyway, but I don't think you can really, yeah, I think it all depends on what you're doing. And if you're trying to imitate the actual intelligence, I think I don't, Fable is Fable. But when
Yeah.
you're trying to do workflows and accomplish that long horizon autonomy, I think you can definitely achieve it without Fable.
Yeah.
Excuse
And
me.
I think that there's a separation of like, I think people like yourself, if you're helping like builders, get up and running, it's like that's the better way to do it long term. But then also like with the same note that like the average person that's not a tech person and they're just their experience is gonna be whatever they can download on the app, and it's either a desktop app or on their phone, and it's like
Right.
one agent that they're just using chat mode, they're using it as basic as possible. So, I think separating that out is good because then you're like, "Oh, if the easiest path, least resistance is just like what model can I pick up and have the smartest answer?" Is like worth it to know, like, like have a realistic, like that's going to be more practical than stringing a bunch of agents together because most people aren't going to do it. But
But it's
then,
going to be a lot more expensive.
yeah, yeah,
And you
people have
can't
to
use, I
pay
don't
for
think
it.
you'll be able to use Fable 5 unless you got, API credits. So the average person wouldn't even get that far, right? I think that's how it's going to work.
Yeah, yeah. There's a, I think 48 hours. Our friend Brian Rothenberg shot him out. He had accidentally had like his Hermes agent hooked up to Claude, and he didn't realize that he's kicked off a process, and he's already built his own harness that was like a OpenClaw, like a Hermes harness. So he's built one of those, but then he's like, I'm gonna try out Hermes to see some of these self improvement loops that people are talking about and like how they work. And so he's had a good experience with it. But then a day later, I think he like had a $60 API bill, and he's like, this is not what I wanted to set up. And he
Yeah.
admitted, he accidentally set up the API to hit Claude instead of cost optimizing, finding a cheap model. So know that yeah, it's absolutely can run up on the average consumer. $60 over 2 days. Imagine like 600, 700, $1,000 a month is easy to think about. A lot of just basic processes of hey, go read Twitter for me in the morning and give me a synopsis. Like cost a lot of money in API credits if you want a smart model to do it.
But if you're building things that have an ROI, then that's not a lot of money
Yeah,
also.
yeah, much
But yeah,
cheaper than having
keep checking up on your Twitter posts. Yeah, I don't know if that's worth it.
yeah. And speaking
Standard
of
open claw things, I would say, are not worth it.
and I learned that the hard way. I definitely burn credit. So, Brian, I am not hating on you. I am one that has also felt the pain of spending too much.
I've been
Um,
running my Hermes on Kimi K2.6, and I just have phenomenal results all through
really?
Venice, my DM tokens, and I don't even think about how much I'm spending because I don't need to because it was a one time investment. I actually have a lot of agents and bots running on just a few DM with these open source models, and that's just how cheap they are.
Yeah.
Like I can get so much inference. I can get so much accomplished with a very small amount of inference. That's the other thing is like when you talk about the hardware, is it going to get more expensive? Is the price going to go down? Well, meanwhile, the price of a token is still going to like continue approaching zero, right? That's what
Mhm.
they've been saying for years, right? The cost of the token output is just getting cheaper and cheaper. Depending on how you look at it, obviously Fable 5 is like twice the price of Opus.
Yeah.
But let's just say like the average intelligence is going to approach zero, then your $1 is going to go longer and longer. So it's another thing to think about when you think about buying a hardware for your intelligence. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I think the thing too is realizing like let's say with a business what you're building something is you need a lawyer to review operating agreement contracts, but like don't hire 10 lawyers. You can hire a kid out of college and that's going to be a cheaper open source model. For you, question is like what's your like litmus test for understanding that Kimi K 2.6 is good? Like just off the
it does
cuff,
what I want. Yeah,
response
I
time
mean,
and just like per
I
task.
don't have to fix it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Hermes fixes itself, right? Like, that's just kind of built into the harness, but it just does a good job, and
Yeah.
I'm okay with the price. I mean, maybe another model would do a good job too, but something For me, it feels weird not to use the best possible open source model for my agent when the price is roughly the same. Like
Yeah.
if the output uh, million tokens of output is $3.50 versus $4.20. Like I'll go with the $4.20. You know what I mean? It's not the difference between $4.20 and $20 or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it does a good job. When I tell it to fix things or do things, it understands what I mean and does it correctly the first time. So that's my litmus test is does it do what I say and does it do it right the first time? And when we need to fix or improve something, does it do a good job? It's pretty simple.
Yeah. There's some things that I think I need to test out more to, like, switch more processes over. One thing I wanna show you guys today is today's our first day on our new Daily Stack studio. So, talking about building, being a builder, making mistakes in public, we're not just podcasting about it, talking about it, uh, is we built the Daily Stack studio. So imagine, like a Zoom, like a Google Meet, like what's it called? StreamYard, Riverside, basically building Riverside from scratch. And there's it's been a process. I think I started this in April and then got caught up with other things. But uh,
Nice.
the really hard part I realized is I wouldn't recommend this for everyone to do. This is not one I would recommend everyone to do. The hard part is like the sessions, the live video, streaming out to platforms, connecting the API to like Google OAuth to get to YouTube, the X API, and things have gotten better. And you can do a lot of smart things with how agentic coding is, but it's a lot of work. It's so much work, even outside of that, which is surprising. Like how much it took and like how complex it gets building like just video streaming software. Because every like the codec has to be a certain way. The bit rate has to be a certain, match a certain level. You need to make sure guests, and their quality is like held to a certain level. Like audio and visual is just like a thing I wouldn't recommend most people build unless it's like, unless you have a team and you want to put some time into it, then it's very possible. And shout out to our friends, Zach Fowler over at Stable Dash. I know that they built their own studio and we influenced them a little bit early on, but then they've influenced us heavily on making this work. So uh, it's been cool. It's been cool to actually see and integrating a Calendly. So if you want to rebuild Calendly, this is something I built over the weekend. So like getting, per day per show links. We're obviously talking about AI today. We'll talk about some treasuries. We'll bring in the community on Fridays, but having that integrate where it's into the show directly versus like sending a bunch of calendar invites saves a lot of time. I think it would save 2 hours at least a week. So there is real value in building some of this stuff, even though it already exists out there and Calendly's only $12 a month. Like it's not that big of an issue paying for it, but I like it. I like the custom software. And we talked about this, I think early on was just a lot of companies are going to want more custom software because they can just tweak it and control it for what they do.
Dude, as a fellow vibe coder that kind of gave up on vibe coding complex apps a long time ago, got to shout out. Like, this is impressive
Appreciate
because
it.
it's not just something that you're running locally. This is at an actual online URL, which makes things infinitely more complicated in my experience. And it's been working. Most importantly, we've been
Uh,
live this
yeah.
whole time, right? There's a bit of a zoom here on your screen share by default. I noticed in the back end, it looks normal, but then here, when I open the program output, it's zoomed in. But
Yeah.
that's literally the only thing I see. And then my mute button was a little stuck earlier. I don't know what that was. But yeah, dude, the amount of back and forth required to build something like this with AI is like intense. And I would have given up. I already know just by looking at all the functionality here. So good on
Yeah.
you, man. It's impressive. Good work.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Yeah. I think at least probably 40 hours because it is
Wow.
so much. Like there's things that you can, and that's where we're separating out like for anyone out there building something, people can one shot like a shell in like probably using Fable pretty easily. But it was, beyond the one shotting, it's there's so much complexity around like everything else to actually make it work. And then you start to appreciate like
Right.
things where like Google Meet, just works when people log in and like enable their camera, their microphone, the mute button. So I'm actually taking notes on like all the bugs I got to fix later. But there's a lot of cool things too because Streamyard you can't like this has a better cropping than StreamYard. We never had a really good crop with like screen sharing, charts or
Mm.
anything that we wanted to, but we can adjust this and like we can zoom and pan a little bit in this. Uh, and then it's cool to be able to like, I think the super cool thing that I'm going to work more on is connecting your agent to it. So I have an agent producer. So
Mm.
now like um I need to get it to I need to update it so they can do it live, but I had to add in this title, down you see the title bar below. I was like Hermes agent in Telegram. Hey, update the title to the show and it could like
Cool.
update the components to it. So there's a few features that get cool when you think about like, oh, if I want to start putting more information, interacting with people, comments, etc., having an agent kind of help you as a producer is a cool way to do it. And then experimenting, right? Like it shows you how you can like pull in agents to be like employees essentially.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, dude. And like you're saying, at integrating your own agent here, this is essentially the future for everyone. Is just vibe code the service you need. Like the age of software as a service is over or
Yeah.
is ending. And even like as soon as Fable comes back, I have all these screenshots on deck of a service I pay for that I don't really use as much as I would like. That I'm just gonna say, hey, rebuild this for me personally, so I can save this $60 a month.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna build that as soon as Fable 5 comes back online. And
Today. Yes, you're gonna build today. Next Wednesday we'll have we'll have a new
well, I
app.
only get 7 days or 6 days, and I only get half the usage. I'm
Yeah.
thinking I'm just gonna try I'm, like, only gonna have it make the plan and,
Mm.
like, get really specific with using Fable, and then I'm actually thinking of building it with GLM 5.2 just for
Ooh.
the media aspect of it. Like, normally, I would
Just for
wanna
the
use Claude.
tagline, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because generally
Yeah.
I like Claude Code, it just does a good job, but I'm gonna start phasing Claude Code out of my life. They just integrated some more tracking stuff. I don't know if you saw that to see if you're
Mm.
a Chinese citizen and seeing what you're doing, like some like spyware shit into Cloud Code.
Yeah.
So that was just kind of like my flag, like, all right, I need to be done. I know someone that's going to try to run it through two different Docker containers. So the harness itself in a Docker container, and then you have another Docker container that's the proxy that
Mm.
actually sends the requests in and out. So Cloud Code can't sneak out in any ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's probably already was a privacy nightmare, and it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so I'll use Fable 5 to make the plan because that is going to be tricky getting all the different features of this site that I want to like.
Yeah.
Like making the plan for this was probably the most intense part, and then maybe you forgot stuff. But if you have a really good plan in the beginning, then it's easy to pass it off to even an open source model and go, hey, step by step, here's what we're building, go. And then it can always go back to the plan. But the
Yeah.
plan has to be really good. You got to have the specs just right. And that's the secret to vibe coding.
Yeah. There's a good point on let me see if I can share this.
Is Sam hopping on?
Oh, Sam can't join this week. He
Okay.
got he's working. He's working a lot, I guess. Good to know though from the AI side of just he's getting business.
Yeah.
Um, this is let me zoom out a little bit here. See if we can show this. Yeah. So this is for those not
Uh-huh.
familiar, Vercel. Making sure I'm like reading really quickly to see if I have like environment variables that would be showing.
Yeah, you're a
Um,
risky man. Yeah.
yeah, so here's Vercel. So breaking down a little bit on real quick on the side of I primarily did this in Codex. So this was my like in April started in Codex, and the reason being was ChatGPT 5 or 5.5 max plan. It just gave me the most horsepower to like continuously day after day after day just put, long tasks and follow-up items and do a ton of work. What I'm doing is connecting this to GitHub, and then GitHub is like holding the code base, and then Vercel is the most popular option I think for really hosting. Like I'm pulling a domain. I bought namecheap.com, bought a domain dailystackstudio.com, pulling that into Vercel. Vercel is pretty easy to use, and this is where you're managing deployments. This is where you can run analytics. This is managing kind of the website side that some, vibe coded platforms like Replit manage for you, but it's cheap. I maybe pay $20 a month now for Vercel, and at the beginning it was free,
Yeah.
but I think I added in some feature that I wanted and paying t but it
And
seems
that
absolutely
$20 a
amazing.
month, you can deploy, like, almost as many websites as you want too. That's
Mhm.
what's cool.
Yeah, which is crazy. It makes sense, like, most people are gonna say, "Go use Vercel." There's a lot of, alerts and tooling and, obviously you see, like, observability and firewall and CDNs, etcetera. So then, what you're doing as well is the 2 things I would say for the command line, get used to is, um integrate Vercel with the command line, and then integrate GitHub with your command line locally on the computer that you're working on. And then let's say if you're using Codex, Claude Code, you're using, um, Cursor, you're using kind of the coding platform that you're using, plugging in Venice. Have it so that it just has a really good understanding of GitHub, who all is, are you doing all the coding there? Are you putting it is anyone else doing pull requests? Are you like submitting uh changes and getting your deployment flow down and just having like Claude or somebody build a strategy on like adding these features and like deployment there. But then also like having Vercel integrated is so easy because I can look at pull requests, look at the diff between here's where the platform was earlier today. Here's a couple features I added. Here's the def and the diff and the PR. And then if all looks good, Vercel deploy it. Um, Not getting into the weeds. I'm just chatting, not the command line at that point. I'm just chatting with Codex, being like, "Does this look good?" Second thing I would say real quick would be having Claude or just another agent review that. So as we were
Yeah.
talking about earlier, just having two set of eyes or three set of eyes on that code base. And so every 2 weeks maybe, and you should do more, but at least every 2 weeks I've had Claude Code do a full like review of it and say, how would you improve this? And then there's some things that like Claude is actually kind of bad with. It was good with strategy, but bad with like design. And Codex actually put in a better design UI, UX feature than Claude, which is surprising to me, but yeah. You only learn these things by tinkering around with them.
We're doing. Well, great work, man. I gotta hustle,
Yeah.
so I'll see you next week, and, all I gotta say is great job, man. Vibe coding
Yeah.
is not easy, and you finished something, and it's working, so I'm proud of you.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that start good ideas. So for the audience, if you have any questions, if you want like to chat more about it, we're happy to do so. Just shoot us a DM, shoot us in the comments, and then Jordan will be back next week. And if Fable returns today, we're going to be checking out his new app that he's building.
Building.
If it's
Yeah,
done,
baby. Yeah,
we'll
baby.
see.
See you later.
All right, we'll see. Everyone, we'll be coming back tomorrow, 12:30 uh, Eastern, and we have Phil Rosen from ProCrap Financial. He's going to be doing kind of break us down. He also has a media company, Opening Bell. Let me verify that. And then we also want to dive into. Let me see if I can find this. We were gonna show a cool video that we had coming out. We'll be back tomorrow. Quick shout out to our friends over at Arch. Use code Daily Stack for 1% off your loan, and that is now in the bear market. If you haven't sold your Bitcoin, this is a better time, a safer time to get some liquidity if you need it. Bitcoin just got above 60K again, which we are very thankful for. And Arch is doing some really cool products also on the digital credit side. So check them out. Use code Daily Stack for 1% off your loan. Also, want to shout out our friends over at Predix. So, Predix is a Bitcoin powered prediction market, and everything's in Sats. It's lightning. It's cheap. It works super fast. The big one we want to cover, or I wanted to show, is Strader Hormuz traffic returns to normal by July 15th. What is normal? I don't know. I need to like see the actual metric on this of what they're considering. But even with the past weekend shenanigans, I do think we're moving faster uh towards a full opening. Let me see what the details on like how it went. Okay, this market will resolve to yes if IMF Port Watch publishes a 7-day moving average of transit calls, arrivals of ships for the Strait of Hormuz equal to or above 60 for any date between market creation and July 15, 2026. Let me see. Let me see if I can actually pull that up because I'm fascinated by this. All right, let me go 7-day moving average of transit calls equal to or above the specified level. 7-day moving average transit calls above 60. I'm making sure I'm reading this right. We're reading on the fly, everyone. I don't know if I love this graph. This is not easy to read. All right, this is above 60. Let's see what it says year to date, 1 year. Transit calls, 7-day moving average. I don't even see how you could if it's even close on 6 months or year to date or 1 year. 7-day moving average, 38. I know I'm getting in the weeds here, but this is a market I would definitely vote no against just because I think limited information and the moving average for 7 days doesn't even look close to 60. So, anyways, shout out our friends over at Predicts. This is what you need to know about prediction markets. Always dive into the details. Always see how markets resolve, not don't read the headlines. But they got some cool stuff rolling out. I think I don't know if I can announce it yet, but hopefully by next week we will announce it. See us back here tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern. We'll be experimenting with some more stuff with the studio. Also, want to pull up on a live dashboard. We got the Daily Stacker community that's going to be featured. So jump in. We got a Telegram group, and we also like feature some tweets from some of our favorite people. Boom. See you guys.